honest and say, you know, actually in this application, I think this product over here that I don't represent would be better for you. That all of a sudden now you become a trusted advisor rather than a salesman.
And I often say that we have all the requirements of space, right? Because it has to go underground and send us data from miles and miles away, and it has to work. Like, failure is not an option.
We'll put on, a standard mule shoe. Ours is slightly different just for that, but it's, everybody's got one.
The top drive and the drawworks really don't care whether the electrons coming at it are from a joystick or a PLC.
The panel, what you see here on the left, which is now controlled by one of my students, is showing you actually the control of our brakes.
As of now, geothermal is a pretty small market.
If you have tortuosity, the casing will be up against the side on part of the well. There won't be any cement there. The cement will have crescent around it.
So managed pressure drilling, it's been defined as a process to precisely control the pressure profile in the wellbore.
The key is being transparent with our clients in this case. So tell them what happened. If we had a failure, tell them exactly what happened. Whether it's our fault, whether it's whatever the issue was, we need to be transparent.
I think it's very important for everyone in the industry to know what's out there and kind of what's happening downhole as well.
I've probably worked on over 40 different performance limiters in my career. If I miss any of those, and the computer is raising weight on bit, and I miss any of those, I have a train wreck. The computer's going in the ocean.
Here's your new colors, here's your new thing. We won't do that at all.
Here's the tattoo you need to get.
Yeah, here's the tattoo. Sorry about the last one. We used to fake that all the time.
There you go. Hey everybody, and welcome to the Vidor Locksmith Show. I'm your host, David Gibson. I'm so excited to be here with you guys today. It's an absolutely amazing show that we are going to have. So this is the Vidor Locksmith Show, where we are unlocking the secrets to success in the oil and gas industry. One interview, one technical presentation, and one technical screw-up at a time. We don't know what today's technical screw-up will be, but we will discover it, we'll get over it, and we'll get back on to the show. So, for everybody that's out there, please like, share, subscribe, do all the social media things. Yeah. Whatever they are. They're helpful. Really, it is. Not so much for me, but for other people who actually want to be able to learn stuff about our industry and be positive caretakers of putting the message out there about the oil and gas industry, which is somewhat important in today's time. So please just, I don't know, tag a friend in the comments who you think might enjoy this. I'm trying to think of some other stuff. Most importantly, let us know where you're watching from. We'll give everybody a quick little shout out here on the screen. I can already see up there John DeWort is watching. Looking forward to an interesting session. John, thank you so much for tuning in. Do appreciate it. Abdul tuning in from Cairo, Egypt. Who else we got there? Dr. Grace from H-Town. Thank you, sir, for being here. Sergey tuning in from Angola. Wow, we definitely got the international audience today going. Bakersfield, California. What time is it? It's like 8 a.m. Are you getting your day started with the Vidor Locksmith Show? That's what I'm talking about. All right. The ever-present LinkedIn user, whoever that is, we appreciate you being here. Greg Deaton says, good morning, everybody. There we go. David, you have an echo. Echoing. All right, let's figure this out. And there's our technical screw-up.
I think it should be fixed now, because that meant that the microphone on that camera was on, and it should be done. Jose Vaca tuning in from Houston. John says, echo. LinkedIn user tuning in from Midland. Let's see. We'll kind of just keep rambling off stuff. Good morning. Featuring from Kuala Lumpur. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. International audience for you three guys. Morning from Houston. Patrick. Oh, you know Patrick? Oh, wait, go back. Who's it? Patrick Jordan. Patrick Jordan MS. Morning from Houston. All right. So everybody's saying they know. Okay. Hello from Saudi. Yes, you got it. Okay. Did Jose Vaca say that we got the?
Yes.
All right. So echoes work. Okay. Wow. I fixed that one quick. Woo. All right. There we go. Everybody's saying Todd Brooker telling us it's fixed. Todd Brooker, he's a reservoir engineer. Todd, we need to get you linked up with Roscoe. Roscoe, the intern, is here. I don't like calling him an intern because this guy is a full-fledged engineer. He's got 1 semester left at school. He's going to Texas A&M. If you guys want to hire him away from me, I will allow it to happen. I am remiss by it. I wish I had more work to be able to, or something I could give him to do. But he's absolutely amazing guy. Super, super, super smart. So, Todd, if you're looking for somebody, Roscoe is the person. All right. Audio corrected. Audio is good. Perfect. And then James from Corpus Christi. All right. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. All right. We're going to give away a drill bit. So what I need you to do is to be able to put on the screen. There we go. Up. Type in hashtag Corva, right? Great partners here with the show who are doing absolutely amazing things with technology. Oh, got to start the giveaway thing before everybody click the... Oh, yeah, you already did. Okay. So type into the comment section, hashtag Corva. We will get your address and send you off a drill bit. While you watch this is a great way to be able to learn a little bit more about data. Yep, that one. And then that one. This is your Corva Insight for the week.
One of the biggest challenges right now that we face in our industry is data sustainability and data consistency. It's never really been a problem until recently, whenever new tools have surfaced and new analytics have surfaced to actually give insight into how inconsistent data can actually affect a modeling, engineering output, or really how you look at data. One of the biggest things that we try to do is try to have a consistent flow, but also a even more clean source of data. We found that the cleaner the source of data, the better that you have, the better consistency, the better that you actually send the data, the better the outputs become. And therefore you can actually make better business decisions in the end. That's really the important part of trying to have clean data and consistent data come through. And that's one of the things that we really try to push towards in our industry now.
All right, there we go. All right, so how many entries do we have so far? 11 entries, 12. All right, so remember, guys, put in hashtag Corva, and then we'll get you a drill bit. All right, we'll do a countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hit it, Tracy. All right, let's see who's getting a drill bit for this week. And our lucky winner is Ken. Didn't Ken already win one? I think this is his second one. All right. Well, guess we're sending 2 of them down to, where did he say he was it Kuala Lumpur is where he was watching from? All right. Well, second one going off. All right, guys. Thank you so much. All right. Most important part of the show. Welcome to our guests. We've got Jay McGovern, Hank, and Tanner Bowersox, or Hank Byrum. Sorry. Skipping over stuff. All right. All 3 of them are here with us today. Thank you guys for being on the show. Sorry, I'm bumping into you. I'm trying to make sure I'm in the shot as well. Well, thank you for being here.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here. Yeah.
All right. So give me a quick rundown. Give me a quick introduction for each one of you guys. Jay, you go ahead. You go first.
I'm born in Ohio and lived in Pennsylvania for a while, and then moved to Beaumont, Texas. And my dad was a doctor there, and then I went to college at Lamar in Beaumont, Pecker Tech, and then I went to A&M, finished there, and married my high school sweetheart. And we matriculated to Corpus Christi, Texas after that. For all of you who remember Howard Cosell, I'll be back in 60 seconds. That's my story.
All right, Hank, follow that up.
I'm Hank, and I was born and raised in Midlothian, and went to college, got me a degree at Texas A&M in geology, and got out in 19, mudlogged a little bit, ended up working at a steel mill for a while, and then moved down here to San Antonio with my wife, and met Tim, Jay's son, and Jay, and was trying to learn how to be a geologist from these two ever since. Learn how to make something happen in the conventional world. But it's kind of my story so far.
Excellent.
Tanner? I'm Tanner Bowersox. Grew up in Pennsylvania, kind of a Yankee transplant. Ended up going to school out in the Northwest at Whitman College for geology, where you tend to not talk about energy things too much in the program. We got a good geology education, and had done an internship in 2013 for Saunders Oil and Gas, working with Jay's daughter-in-law, Chelsea. Then came back in 2014 after graduating, spent 2 years in a mid-sized exploration company in San Antonio, and then since 2016, I've been putting deals together with Jay, and then 2018 opened Bowersox Exploration, so my entity that takes deals 50-50 with Jay as our mentor and partner. So yeah, it's been a great time so far, and I've learned so much about business and geology and everything else in between, and quite a few other tidbits here and there as well from his mind over there.
I'm guessing you could learn a few things.
One or two.
From Jay. All right. Tracy, do me a favor and pull up the comment side. So just in case we could see. Is everybody here? All right, guys, let me know if y'all can hear okay, because we've only got one microphone for the three of them. So if we need to make any changes or anything like that, let me know. Sorry, I'm trying to get as close to you as I can so I'm not out of the shot. Normally, I'm not supposed to be sitting in a rolly chair, but this is the second time I've had to do this in a couple of weeks. So, all right. So tell me this, like, I'm really interested in being able to kind of hear the story because obviously not very many people own their own exploration company, right? And essentially we've got the two owning parties here. How does that, like, how did that kind of come to fruition? And
first thing you have to kind of realize is that nobody else wants you. That's a good prerequisite to being an independent geologist, and that you
or an entrepreneur in general.
And you really don't, you have your own ideas, you really have no politics, just a lot of hard work, and you really don't have any interest in being political. So you realize then coming out of college that nobody really probably wants you, and you really don't want to be political. You're not a corporate sort. And so at that point in time, and you don't mind working hard and being independent minded, and you don't want to be told that, oh, that won't work. And so you end up deciding, I'm going to go do all this on my own. I don't want a boss. I don't mind working hard. I don't mind working really strange hours. And at the end of the day, I want all the money. Okay. And so that's really what got started. I've had people that train me. In fact, one particular fella lives here in Wimberley, Don Haynes. Don's close to 90 years old and still going. His mind is very sharp. He's a guy that sat down with me and originally just started scratching on maps, showing me how to map stuff. That was where I learned geology. The Landris, Jimmy and Roger Landris helped me out a lot when I first got started learning about scout tickets, and then Bill Colson was financially very important in my development. But really, in summation, you have to realize that nobody really cares about you. And if you're not political and you don't want to go the corporate route, you just say, I can go do all this. And you need to be a treasure hunter. Treasure hunter is very important, to be just naturally always wondering about, what's under the next rock that you're going to turn over. And you have to be a treasure hunter, thrill seeker, adrenaline junkie. I mean, I got up this morning and worked over a well yesterday, and it came in making 425 MCF a day. And 3 or 4 barrels of oil, and I own 57% of it. I just got this gigantic raise overnight. And it's just like, there's no other thrill like that. I'm 65. I'm never going to be tired of doing that. You know, you just got to be a treasure hunter. It's really what it is. You think about most jobs people go to, they can't ever be a treasure hunter. They just go in and they're stuck in something that's, you know, the same old boring, mundane thing every day, and they can't escape it. And they're slaves, really, in a free society. And I'm not a slave. I'll never be a slave. I'm always going to be free. And that's what it takes to be an independent geologist and get started. And don't have people tell you that you can't do that or that won't work and all that. And I'm like, watch me, I'll make it work.
So would you consider yourself a wildcatter then?
Wildcatter, no. I'm really kind of a junk dealer. I go through old, you know, the wildcatter actually is somebody that goes way out and drills a well where there's never been anything done before. There's never been any oil. Be like Wimberley would be kind of a wildcat area because you're going to be dealing with, there's not a lot of known oil accumulations here. It's going to be, you know, carbonates, Ellenberger or something, you know, real deep carbonates, Sligo. That would be a wildcatter. I just go through the trash like at McDonald's and dig through there, and I can make a meal out of an old oil field. There's going to be plenty of things that were left in that old oil field, just like trash in McDonald's. Somebody throws French fries, a half-eaten hamburger. I just cut the part they ate off, and you can make a nice living being a trash deal, garbage, like Sanford and Son. I'm like, you know, Fred Sanford and Lamont, you know, from the 70s, Sanford and Son. You're just a trash dealer, but you can make a great living because major oil companies went through these fields and they just picked the low-lying fruit off those fields, and all the other stuff that was a little bit harder to get, the price wouldn't allow them to go through those fields and exploit that, so they just left them. So go work in areas where major oil companies had the fields in the 60s and the 50s. They left a ton of stuff behind. And so I just go back in old oil fields and collect all the data, and that's what Tanner and Hanko do, and they go bring me all the information, and you can piece together everything about that field. And I wouldn't want somebody to hire me as a detective in a murder case, because I guarantee you I could figure out who did what to who and when just by all the data that you have, and you come to a conclusion that that could not have happened over there because of the timing. That person there is not telling you the truth. It's kind of like Columbo was in the 70s, the old show with Peter Falk. I'm a real good investigator, and once I look at the data enough, it's stuck in my head, and then I don't need to recall it. I can tell you that couldn't be that way because of the timing. If the information you get is correct, I can tell you. And once I put together a prospect, it's all in my head. I don't need to review the maps or anything. I can tell you, you know, everything about it. And that's what it takes to be an independent. It's not really wildcatting. You're really Sanford and Son. You're just going through and collecting old trash that other people throw away, and you can build a treasure out of it.
So then Tanner and Hank are your dumpster divers then. They're going through and finding
They
all
go
the...
and pull. My dream ever since I was a young geologist was to go have people go over to the library and do the research for me, and then just bring me back the stuff. So what we do is we actually go to the library in Corpus, and I sit there in this big long desk, and I have the maps out of an area we're working, and I tell them, you go do this, you go get this, go get that scout ticket. All the information is there. It's just like if you want to run back an old show, you've got the recording already there, and you can go back and look at it and say, okay, well, this guy said this at this time and all that. And that's the way that I do it. We call it guerrilla geology.
Guerrilla geology.
Geology. They bring me all the information, and I sit there and I go through all the logs and the tickets and the cores and the tests and all that. And then I say, there's a prospect right there. You guys go research the lease. See if you can get a lease on it. Okay. That's where we are on the project that and Tulita that we're working on right now. They're working on the leasing part of it. And Hank's had to go out to a lot of these, probably going to have to go to a homeless shelter in California to get one signature. You know, so you got to get all the people east. You got to get the right people because you're trespassing on their minerals. So they go out and do that. There's numerous facets of doing it. Geology is one thing. That's the inspiration. Then the land work, the legal work, make sure everything is correct, that you have the right people that you're leasing and you pay them. And then you put your prospect together, then you pretty up your maps. The next thing you do is you go out there and then you start marketing. And I think you probably know a thing or two about marketing, and that's how it works. You bring it in front of the public and, you tell them this is what this thing could make you. And we're creating something that you can sell, a commodity out of nothing but paper. And if that isn't farming, I don't know what is. We're creating a commodity that will help solve America's energy crisis one well at a time. It's not like Exxon and the big companies and all that. And you know what? Most of the wells that are drilled in this country are drilled by little guys, fat guys like me.
So, hey, did you have any idea what you were getting yourself into? Because, I had no idea what I was getting myself into with this interview already. How did you feel within your first couple of months of working with Jay?
Well, whenever I graduated college, I really didn't have any idea, wasn't really aware that conventional oil and gas was really still a thing. I just figured it was all corporate. Need to go get a master's degree and go try and get in with Shell or Exxon or whoever. I didn't really know much. Well, I still don't know a whole lot, but really had no idea how oil and gas is found. Whenever I came down and met with Jay, I didn't know what a scout ticket was.
Sorry, I still don't know what that is, but we'll get to that later.
Or completion cards or detailed production report. I knew what well logs were, but I never knew exactly how they're used, how you can get them and compare them all side by side and pick out where there might be faulting or how this sand can change and thicken. And I had no realistic idea of what geology looked like, how faults can occur and branch off, or just no realistic image of what geology looks like. I mean, I learned about stress and strain and coaxial this and stuff and structure, but I just had no realistic picture. And one thing working with Jay, he's been in the business for 40 years and will be researching an area, and he can see the companies that drilled it, and he knew this geologist, and he can probably understand the thought process that they had in producing this field and whether or not they were in it to really make some oil, or maybe they're just trying to sell their idea and get out of there. They're not going to try this other sand, or you can kind of know what they left behind just all of his experience. And I really had no idea what I was getting into. I had no idea the how real the struggle is to try to lease to people, especially small pieces of land that haven't been leased in 20 or 30 years or more. And say you have heirs to the mineral rights from people that didn't leave wills. They didn't know that they had these mineral rights. And now you figure out who they are. You see who was leased to originally. You look up, maybe try to find their obituary, who their kids might be. Use Yellow Pages, and then you call them up, and you got to kind of prove to them that you're not scamming them, that they just don't believe you, or might sound too good to be true. They don't trust you. Whenever I was in college, I never thought I'd go to someone's house and have them yell explicitives at me and tell me to get out of here, and I just assume sue you or whatever. And it's intimidating for some people that maybe they're not so sophisticated, and it's and then you have family issues that you have siblings, kids that are jealous of one and they want this or that. It's really opened my eyes to a lot being with Jay. I think seeing a lot of things, learning a lot of things that I probably wouldn't get at a corporate job.
So
something like that. That's pretty much all I got.
Tanner, you've been shaking your head yes throughout a lot of that. Like,
it just rings true. So Hank is a few years behind what my exact trajectory was. So in getting off of my 2 years at a mid-sized exploration company, Jay said, why don't you come down and start putting maps together? And you really grind for quite a while, and you find out that sort of what he said at the start, nobody really cares. It's about, are you going to sink or swim? And it's completely up to you and somewhat up to luck. Does this map amount to a coloring book page that you can hang on your refrigerator like you're a 6-year-old, or will the leases actually come through because the mineral owners turn out to be people who are interested? So sometimes you burn through 6 or 7 prospect ideas before something even comes apart, and you sink or swim. Your income is not a regular salary. You're typically buying your own health insurance after you cross 26 and all those type of things. So you really need to make it work until you start to get some wells built up that are paying you every month. But so the upside is infinite. Like you're seeing, he's got 50-something% of a well that just came on, and that is completely life-changing for somebody, especially at our age, where he's got the encyclopedic knowledge and can say, nope, I made that mistake when I was 30. Nope, I made that mistake when I was 35 on this well in B County. And he can encyclopedically say, this is sand, did this, and I saw this, and this log looks like this. So he's cutting out a lot of the start of his career he describes as not as good as it was now. So he doesn't want to go out and do the headache anymore, but we have the energy to soak up all this information and then go out and put it into action. So it's really a grind every step of the way to get there. Some are easier than others, but you see the light at the end of the tunnel when you see somebody with, what are you at, 49 wells now that pay you every month. And it's, if that strikes a chord with you as a young geologist and you don't want the security, or you're okay with giving up the security of the now money for having interest in something that may or may not work and learning how much of each well you can keep and all that, then if that rings to you, which it did to me, I saw the light at the end of the tunnel. I saw this guy is making it and has all these wells. It's inspiring. It's something you want. I want a piece of that as soon as I can. And I want to take more and more of each deal as I'm able to. So that's the idea. Yeah.
Describe to me the feeling of the first well that you were a part of that was successful.
Would that be Peters? The first well, and that was kind
of put the
Can 2.
Can 2, yeah, that's pretty neat.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
It's always a roller coaster. So you learn, and you are able to take it a little bit less personally every step of the way when you're first starting out and you're risking a large chunk of your overall net worth in buying a lease or taking a little bit of interest or whatever else. It's terrifying. And that was a real roller coaster where our target zone, the Chamberlain sand, was, I think, 15 feet low and wet.
Yeah.
Another coworker of ours, who I won't mention his name, but
Sean Gallen.
That's right.
Okay, you were correct. You didn't mention his name.
Right. So I'm good. So you sit in there and watch the logging tool go down in the down log pasture zones, and they bring it up at a higher resolution for a 10-inch with the micro log suite. And as that squiggle comes along and you either see a resistivity or you don't, indicating water or oil, or hydrocarbon, could be gas, that resistivity curve on our main 20-foot thick target sand was low to the surrounding wells that had already produced. And he stomped his foot and said something nasty. And you just learned that you can't ever, you need to be the last one who's dragged out of that fight. You need to be, you take it personally. It really hurts to see that squiggle that you've been telling a story on for the last year as you place this deal. It was no good, the main idea, but we drill in areas that have 10 to 12 stacked pays in the Frio. And oftentimes you'll come into a channel or some sort of barrier bar system or something where what we identified was a 2-foot thick sand, so yay high, with a reduced SP response that it indicated as a shale on the lithologic readout on the SP. We took a formation test of it and it came in virgin pressure, 100% oil. We shot the zone and it was never tested before and flowed for 3.5 years straight, came on 86 barrels a day, 100% oil. Everybody made their money back in probably about a year, and it flowed for 2.5 more years. We put it on pump and that zone is still producing now. So as we sit here, as we sleep, and there's another zone above it that looks identical that also wasn't identified. So when that stops producing, we go on to the next one. And that's, you ride that roller coaster. If you're standing there thinking you lost all your money, the investor's money, they're going to call you. We're the HR department. They call us and say, where did the money go if the well doesn't work out? And then a couple weeks later, you're out there perforating and this thing comes roaring in and it's just gushing, and it changed my life at that time too, for having interest in a little bit of interest in the well, and changed Jay's life. He held 15-20% of it, and 2 months down, you're paid on a 2-month delay from when production is sold. And that, when that starts to hit, that's then you start to realize this effort was worth it. So yeah.
So here's a great question, because I know a lot of the people that are watching, and I know that this has happened throughout the course of my career, is being able to look at and wanting to be a part of something like this. And like you guys said, you have to do the marketing. You said you've got the investors. How does that work for somebody who wants to be a part of a well?
Just email me at jay@t as in Tom, J as in Jerry, McGovern.com, and we'll be glad to send you maps and ideas. And we have 6 ideas now, because I have lots of little interns and they all want to be involved. And so I've got tons of ideas, and all they have to do is just like Saul, just call 1-361-537-2394, and I'll be glad. I wrote a book on this that shows it's called Geology for Beginners 101. It has everything in there as to why oil and gas forms, why it's trapped in the ground, how you can look at investing, who gets what out of the deal. Page 38 has all of that broken down. If there's a barrel of oil there, they all see, oh, I see the landowner gets this part, and then the rest of the people that paid for it get this part, and then what kind of a tax write-offs that you get, which are enormous. I don't pay any taxes. Everything I make every single year, I put it right back into the business, so Joe and Kamala cannot get a hold of it. And I just build my business every year. So when I finally die and my wife marries the pool guy, New Wave Dave, then she will be able to enjoy the money that I had from the year before that they never got. So the tax implications are huge. People give money to the government in their form of taxes, and they can write off 85% of a well is a write-off, and then you have a 15% depletion allowance. If you make $1 million a year on your production, the first 150,000 of that tax-free. They won't touch it because it's a depletion allowance. tax implications huge. These doctors, they pay all these tax. My old man was a doctor. He paid taxes. He died. There was $125,000 check on his dresser. He just never, the tax implications are huge. Don't pay taxes. If you can direct that money towards something that's going to make you money next year, why not do that? And then if it's a failure, you get a huge write-off. So direct your money in the direction you want it to go. Don't give it to somebody that says he doesn't pay taxes and he's a bad guy. So direct the money the way you want it to go, which is make you money the next year. So here comes the next year, you got another tax problem, and you put that money into your next adventure. So I'm always constantly spending my money on stuff that I did. Like yesterday, I spent probably 30 grand on a workover. It worked. I mean, I'm going to get a huge cash flow out of that risk money.
So how many people do y'all normally have? Like if y'all have a well and y'all have a project coming up, how many?
You might have, it depends. Alana Gonzalez and Tanner are super salespeople. I mean, Alana gets on that phone and she bo peeps all these folks and tells them, all the stuff about the prospect. Cute, sweet little girl. Everybody loves Alana. She's a great salesperson. We might have 15, 20 folks in there, that are in the deals. And, it's very simple process that you do. You raise the money that way. It's all just, out there in the public sector. There's no private equity or it's just, David, you could be an investor. Anybody?
Well, if Roscoe approves of the well, if Roscoe approves of it, we'll do it.
Roscoe, they all can be investors. I'm an investor in my own stuff because I definitely get high on my own supply. I mean, I really like, because I know all the science and I look at it and I think, yeah, it's going to work. That's going to work right there. And then sometimes you come across stuff and you're kind of amazed. You think, wow, that thing worked. And so it's always, like I said in the beginning, the prerequisite is being a treasure hunter. Must be a treasure hunter, wanderer, and then unemployable by anybody else. You just know that.
It's like you read my resume right now.
That's right. You realize that, you know what? I just can't be caged. I'll never be happy being caged. I must be free. And I knew that as a very young kid in Pennsylvania. I'd go down to this creek and turn over rocks and look for salamanders and crayfish. And under every rock was a potential treasure. And it was always, that's the way my brother said that to me. He said, you were always that way. You were always a wonder. Big bass fisherman. Every single, log that you throw that wacky worm next to, potential fish. Now they got the side scanners where you can look and tell you there's not a fish there. Well, the hell, that ruined it all. That's the silliest thing. I want to be able to dream there might be a 8-pounder by that log. Now they have these side scanners that tells you, there's no fish there. I don't get it. You need to be a dreamer to be a geologist. If you can dream, there's always hope.
So I know obviously y'all are doing this and bringing in investors. Have you guys ever thought about just consolidating it and just taking on all of the risk internally?
I took 57% of a 425 MCF and 5 barrel a day well. I had 57% of it. So that's going to make a lot of money. So I took on, and then Tanner and I did another one where we did 100% of it. It was a workover reentry. It worked. So I do take on, as I get older and older and closer to the graveyard, I'm taking bigger and bigger risks just to get rid of the money, like I said. so you don't pay it to the government. You just get rid of the money and invest it in stuff like that. So I do take on bigger and bigger risks. Yeah.
So are there any deals y'all just keep to yourself because you know
Not
it's just gonna?
not, the Peters we did was 100%. But your businesses with some of Alana and Hank and Tanner, they're not in the same shape. So they need to put deals together and raise money and do the promotion part of it. And, they go without a salary for 2 years. And then they put a promote on it and people say, well, they make all this money. Well, how would you like to get up without a paycheck for 2 years? A lot of people that are critical of you ask them, well, let's see you get up without a paycheck for 2 years, not knowing that you're going to unload these projects. Big difference. I always say, before you're critical of somebody, walk a mile in his moccasins and see what he's experienced in his life before you pass judgment on him. And so these guys here, they put their own money into the leases, and then they've got to get out there and sell it. So they're under the gun. Big difference in getting a check every 2 weeks. Big difference.
Yeah, I've told many people the two most addictive things in life are heroin and a steady paycheck. So you got to be able to break them. So Hank and Tanner, for you guys, obviously geology and stuff was y'all's background. As far as like having to build some of these other skill sets, because like you guys are doing HR department, you're doing sales, you're doing landman work. I'm guessing you're overseeing drilling operations and stuff too. What's been like the most intriguing thing, or something else that you really, just that it really kind of drew you in as far as the other ins and outs of the operations?
I didn't really have a clear picture of what it's like to be a geologist whenever I was in school. I always thought about more an old school approach and being hands-on every step of the way. And I had an interview with a company I guess I won't mention, but
anybody else want to for him?
I don't know. Anyways, he said, so what makes you want to be a geologist? And I was like, well, like learning about how all the formations and rocks got laid on top of each other. And I don't mind being in an office, but also like going out in the field and seeing how stuff works. And he flipped it on me and was like, well, you think going out just one day a month is that would be too much to do as a geologist? And I'm kind of thinking, well, I'd expect to go out there whenever you're drilling or having a work over, because there's a lot of things that could go wrong that I guess maybe working in a corporate world, might not matter too much to them. But if it's your money, you want to make sure that they're logging the well right, or not spending too much time on a formation they're testing. They might get their tool stuck, or you can be right there and say, oh, let's core this, or say this logging company brings out this fancy tool they just want to try out on y'all's risk expense. If it gets stuck because they don't have insurance, y'all are at the site to tell them, hell no, get that out of there. Or
he turns a little red. Yeah, that's
you see things like whenever they're logging Tanner's well and cistern, and the brakes kind of slipping as they're coming up the hole, and the crown's kind of lowering, and that might be throwing off the log, right? And they'd say anything about that, or maybe they want to take all day swabbing a well. You're not going to see that from your office, from a report coming into your computer. But as far as like learning all this stuff, how to get leases together and sell, it's you just kind of learn from people who've done it before you, and try to be the best you can be at it. Learn from your mistakes. There's different ways I'd approach people on the phone or in person about leasing to them, because I've just my short time realized how I could have maybe made it better or simpler or more appeasing to someone that didn't know me. That's pretty much what I got.
How about you, Tanner? What have you found new and interesting as far as your journey in this?
I think the growth, just every step of the way of feeling yourself come into your own as doing what Jay does, and you have somebody to look at down the road of what you want to be, and you surround yourself by other geologists, and then you see people who are in the same shoes that you were in a couple of years ago, and Hank's doing the same thing, and you associate with that, and you have goals ahead of you, and every step you're learning and growing. And today I got a little bit better. Yesterday we were negotiating a service use agreement where you get to pretend to be a lawyer for a day or two, or we type up. Sometimes I'll type up my own leases or put language in, or just that wearer of many hats type of thing. I did well in school, but I always had trouble motivating on projects that didn't feel like would amount to anything for me. There wasn't a material, not just monetary, but I didn't find satisfaction in handing a paper that somebody would arbitrarily grade. So I was never just wanted to be a pigeonholed academic, but you get to do the mapping portion, but then the rest of the year you might do mapping and get all these leases put together, but then the other part of the year you're out there meeting people in their living room. And the first lease I ever took, we were trying to lease the deal before the Peters deal, and we showed up and it was the same last name, but it was the wrong mineral owner, and the guy had his hand on his pistol the entire time, and I'm sitting there as my first lease to take, and you just have you meet these characters out in the middle of nowhere they become good friends of yours. They're landowners who call you 2 years down the line, ask how you're doing, or ask if you have any other lease in the area that you might want to take from them. And you just meet, it's a cast of characters that I don't know you would meet in any other, you wouldn't meet in an office at Google, and you wouldn't meet them somewhere else. You got people, all over, people screaming at you, and people who are excited to see you and come out and be able to send them their monthly royalty checks. So just that variety of work is very appealing to me. And the business side of things too. I like working numbers. I like communicating with people. I like the networking. So I don't think there's any one thing, but it's the variety that gets me excited about it, and that gets us out of bed every day and excited to go find the next one.
Cool. All right, so I've got a question here from John DeWart. How do they manage drilling operational risk, finding the right contractor who will meet their goals without exceeding the AFE?
Well, you have different operators that will, typically Cimarron Engineering in Kingsville did a lot of them for me. They hire out all that. They take care of all that stuff. You just tell them where to drill and how deep. You just point to the map, how deep, and they take care of all that for you. They'll get the drilling contractors. We've got a new group in Corpus Paloma that's going to drill a few wells for us. Double play. Glenn Burdine just did the well yesterday, the workover that came in good on the Jimmy C. Morgan number 3 finally. And several other debris, petroleum. There's lots of people there, and they take care of all those headaches, and they're always staffed by engineers and all that, and they take care of all the headaches, send out all the paperwork, collect all the money, do everything. All I do is tell them that's where I want you to drill, and that's how deep I want you to drill and why. And they take care of everything else. It's over with. You don't worry about it. There's an operator.
Our property managers basically is how somebody would manage an apartment complex or anything else. The same
We're
deal.
science.
They line up all the services, all from mowing the lawn to picking up the loads of oil to everything else. And we turn it over to them. The only future information we have to give them is if a zone stops producing, where do we want to perforate it next? And we want to flow this one around into this tank, or certain operational things. We can still call the shots, but they carry all the umbrella insurance policies. They handle all the paperwork. They send out the monthly direct deposits to your bank account, less operating expenses. So we don't have to have the headache of that. We can go on and take care of the other things that have more value for us. So, yeah.
Which is science.
Yeah.
You do the science, and they don't care anything about the science. They just care about, making things work and getting the wells drilled. And you're just an underground farmer, really, is what you are. You're just
Underground farmer.
Underground farmer. You're just going out there on a barren piece of land with no value to it, but and you did the research underneath it, and you know what's down there, and that's it. They handle all the rest of it, and all I need to know is when's a mud log coming in, because we run a mud log on every well every day, and when's it time to log. And that's it. I drive out there just like the old fashioned. I've drilled over 300 wells, and I drill out there. I go out there and sit in the trailer with the guys and look at the log like the old fashioned guys did. Now they don't even go out to the wells. I was like, what? They don't even go to the locations? And they're like, oh no, they just send it into the office there in Houston. And it's like, nah, you got to be on the field. It's like being in the press box or down there on the field, smelling the other guys. It just does something and gets you in the game more. And that's what going out to wells is like. You can smell it and you're there. Big difference.
So how does it make you feel when you like with the well you said yesterday or recently that y'all just worked over? How does it make you feel when one comes online like that?
Oh man, it's just like, utopia. Just absolutely. You just got a huge raise that you could never get in any other sort of the lotto. Winning the lotto, you can kind of control your ability to create wealth by using your mind and understanding of the formations. And this is my baby. I mean, I babied this. I raised the money and got the people to invest in it and believe in me. And then my baby's born, and it was like, absolutely orgasmic. No other way around.
Some are uglier than others. Yeah.
So who's y'all's typical investors? Doctors, lawyers, or like other
lawyers, Indian chiefs. I find that a lot of people that are in the service industry, they kind of are intrigued by it, that are actually remotely associated with the industry. Of course, there's always going to be a certain number of adrenaline junkies in the human population, I'm sure, that just, you go to bingo halls and look around and you think the same people show up there all the time. I could probably set up a card table outside a bingo hall and sell interest in deals, because they're just certain number of people that have to roll the bones. And that's why Las Vegas is there too. I mean, it was built on the need to get away from an ordinary, mundane, boring job and have an opportunity possibly to change your life a little bit. It might not, but at least you had an opportunity to go out there and maybe change your life. And I think a study of the human psychology, I think you'd probably find that there's a lot of people out there that just have to roll the bones because they go to such an ordinary, boring job every day. They eventually decide, man, I got to go out. And that's why, you have the gambling and you have the lotto and all that other stuff. People just, they want to go out there and roll the bones. And so a lot of people that invest, they're always small onesies, twosies, percenters, and most of them get it and they say, oh, I understand. Every once in a while you get somebody that's not happy with the results because it's a very risky industry, and they're not happy with it, but that happens in anything. They love their quarterback until Tom Brady gets picked off and a pick six, and then he's a bum. Then that's human nature.
So do you have repeat investors then? People that are always coming back and getting on to the next one?
Our biggest problem within some of the investors is we have so many ideas, okay? And if they're gas, they may not get hooked up for 6 or 8 months. And so they want to see cash flow from that well. We have one right now that's over a year to get it hooked up, and it's a really good well. But, it takes you 6, 8 months to get it hooked up, because each and every landowner along that pathway to get to that tap has a different idea about what their ground is worth when it's talking about, laying a pipeline. And that slows. Anytime you have human beings involved, it's going to slow the process down. Oil is simple. You just set up a tank battery on the lease and you haul the oil out and sell it. Gas, slower. So a lot of folks that invest with you, it's a gas well. It's not hooked up yet. They're not seeing the cash flow as quickly as they wanted to. Oil, it's 60 days from the time you start selling the oil, they're getting their first check. And they all want checks. Just something.
So tell me this. So from the time that you guys like start drilling the prospect, it completes, done drilling, to the time you get your first check, because obviously conventional wells, you're not having to go in there and frack, but you're just going in there and perfing them.
Take, let's say we're going to drill one called Sidell number 2 on Monday over at Orange Grove. It's 5,500 feet. So they'll set the rig up and drill the surface casing, drill the water well, set the surface and let it dry. It'll probably start drilling Tuesday, really, and they'll probably be done by the next Tuesday. Then we'll go out, drop a logging tool down there. Of course, we'll have run the mud log the entire time so you can kind of see what shows are coming in. And then you go and decide it looks good. It's going to be good. I know the side L2 is going to be good in the Bierstadt oil sand. You run casing. Okay, you set the casing on, the 4.5. It'll set up in 2 days. You collect the second wave of money for the completions because you pay what you call initially a dry hole cost. Then after you drill the well and it's not a dry hole, then you collect the completion funds. That takes a couple of weeks. You don't ever do anything without having the cash in the bank, okay? Because some investors go, oh, well, I didn't send it in. Well, if you didn't send it in, you're not in the game anymore. You got to send in your completion funds.
So then they non-consent, right?
Yeah, if they go non-consent, they're out. That's it. They're stopped. And then anybody else that consents, they get their proportionate share of that person that didn't consent. All your other partners chop up that piece and they get to feed off that. All right, then you send in your money, takes 2 weeks. All right, here we go. We're going to go out and pop the well. So now we've been 3 weeks. A week to drill, 2 weeks to collect the funds. Bam, we go out there and pop the Sidell number 2, 100 barrels a day coming in the Bierstadt. And they're going to get their money in 60 days in the oil. There's already a tank battery out there. So
awesome.
That's how it works. It's not really that complicated. There's no corporate memos or middlemen or exploration manager that taking all the credit for it and everything like that. These guys share in the prospects with me. If they want to be my 50% partner, they share with me. I'm not trying to keep them poor like corporations do. I just want you to go out and experience my pain, and it'll become your pain. And when you experience it that way, you get the idea that, wow, this is pretty damn neat. I'm not asking them to be poor. I'm just asking them to go out there and, feel it. And that's how it works. And I've trained 45 kids to be exploration geologists since 2006. And I bet you over 20 of them are working in the industry, making somebody else maps and, using the what I've taught them to,
all right.
other people.
So I got a couple of questions here. This one's probably one of the quickest ones here. So Jose Vaca asks, what amount is accepted to be a part investor? Is it 10K or 100K?
No, anybody can buy 1%. I recommend you just buy 1%. The deals are, at 8,600 or less than $10,000 a percentage point. I don't care. I would recommend people start small. I wouldn't want to go on a giant marathon to run, 50K here in the shape I'm in. I'd be dead, going out there trying to do it all at once. Work your way up slowly, and then if you like what you see, you didn't spend the farm on it. I had one guy, Oklahoma, said, well, I'm going to sell the house. And when I said, don't do that. You're going to sell the house and invest it in an oil and gas well? I said, don't do that. Your wife will kill me. She'll send a hit squad down here to take Dad out. I said, don't do that. You don't need to be doing that. So it doesn't take much. Just start small. And if you don't like it, stop. If you do, you try another one.
All right. So then Scott McNeil also asked, do they well lump sum or cost per foot basis?
The drilling contractors will drill the wells based on they're going to drill it on a footage basis, and they will give you a turnkey. In other words, the Sidell number 2 is turnkeyed by Price Drilling, and they're going to give us a turnkey of probably $231,000, and that's a turnkey. That guarantees you they'll drill the well, they can take the pipe out, and you can run a log in there and get the log out and lay it on the catwalk. That's a loggable hole. After that, their commitment to you is over with. Then you're on a $450 per hour day rate. But it's a loggable hole. That turnkeys are very important. You don't ever usually want to do wells on a footage basis, because if something goes wrong and you get stuck, you still owe the drilling contractor that money. And you got nothing to show your investors but a stuck pipe. Well, they're not going to like that. So get turnkeys always. And on a footage basis, they're going to give you a footage basis of how much it'll cost. And they'll sign, seal, and deliver to you. And then you go, okay, I know this AFE, it's going to cost me this much to drill, this much to log it, these other services. Here is going to be how we do it. The total cost divided by 75, and that's going to be drilled on a 1/3 for a quarter basis. And that's how much you're going to charge your investors per 1%.
So tell us the 1/3 for a quarter. Explain that for everybody.
You basically have a big pie, okay, and you chop the pie up into apple pie, and everyone else went out and bought the apples and the eggs and everything, and they carved the pie up into 4 pieces, all right. And those people get each one of those is a third, and a third. And then I pop out that other part. That's my pie. Okay. So it's a third for a quarter basis is the way it's done. Okay. So they get to pay for my inspiration that, hey, let's go have an apple pie. That was my inspiration. Let's go out there. They paid for the eggs. They paid for the apples. They paid for the whipped cream and everything. And then they basically, and then I get a quarter of it. I get to watch. And then at the point at which we decide that's a good well, then I'm on the hook too. And I'm paying my share of my quarter. And that's how it works. So it's a third for a quarter promotion is what it's called. And you sell it on a per point basis. It's not, if you read the book I have, and anybody out there in TV land that wants a copy of my book, just email me at jay@tjmcgovern.com. I'll send you a book, and the book shows you everything about geology and why oil's there and the faults and all this other science stuff. And then on page 38, it gets into all the who gets what out of it, because after all, we're out here to make money, and it divides up the barrel of oil, and you can see, oh, I see where all that goes. Okay. And the book's free. I just wrote it for the general public because an investor who is informed, he's going to be a good investor. So you want him to be informed about it. You don't tell him to buy a car and he doesn't know anything about it. You got to test drive the car, read about it, and educate yourself. I don't know anything about all these, computers and gadgets in here and cameras. I couldn't do any of that stuff. I don't, but you do. And if you put a book out about doing that and advertising, and I would read it because I would educate myself on it. You should get my book if you want to be in the oil and gas industry, because it's a good little read for folks that just like, I never knew anything about it, and it's not that complex. It's like anything else. It's not really that complicated, and I'll be glad to send it to you. And it's electronic, and it's free.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got another question that came in here from Brian. It says, do you run MWD gamma with surveys or just mud logging?
We do mud logging first. He catches all the samples, and they deliver you a mud log twice a day. We get one on your drilling report at 7:30 in the morning. You get one in the afternoon at 3:30. So when you get ready to go through all these fun zones, it's like a preview to a movie. You're like, oh God, I mean, that Jurassic Park thing is so exciting. Top Gun, it's just like a preview, and that's what the mud log. And then the actual log is a triple combo, which is it's a high resolution induction as a micro log presentation down the center. It's just kind of a wham. It just shows you everything at once. And you can look at it and say, okay, that looks productive and interesting. Then we go back and we take sidewall cores and we take formation tests. And it's just like little sidewall cords or percussion cords, just like a little biopsy of the formation. And is there any oil in there? Look at the mud log. Hell yeah, he said there was a show of oil right there. Well, this open hole log is showing you the same thing. It's like, there must be something probably right there. We might ought to core and test that. And that's how we do it. It's very simple. It's not anything complicated.
So we got another question here from Ben Zapata. Says, any horizontal re-entries in the future?
Possibly, yeah. I have leases that I go through and look at it and say, we probably go back in that well and make something to work on that lease. Any lease that you have old wells that were drilled on them. Their plugging of those wells in the 60s was defined by the price of oil. Well, in those days, it was $2.60. Now it's 95 or whatever it is, 90. Goes up and down depending on what the traders want to do in New York, and then the folks that control the price of oil worldwide, the Saudis.
Says, next question from Lauren Kenny. Says, do you guys ever use seismic, either proprietary shoots or vendor data?
Yeah, I mean, two of my kids are seismic. They're geologists, and they use seismic a lot and everything. I just never really had a lot of luck with it because it represents a sound wave, okay? It goes down in the ground and bounces off different stratum and comes up. And all the shot points and the geophones and all the vibrosize and dynamite, those were all set by human beings who are subject to being distracted, okay? Whereas a electric log, I can look at the electric log, know exactly where it's drilled, and examine it myself, and that's real, tangible evidence, where a sound wave is subjected to whether it was shot in the right place. The only real story I can tell you is Grace Davila, a girl that I works the Railroad Commission now that I trained. She said they shot seismic out there on her property at West Sinton area in San Patricio County. And they put the geophones and everything down and got ready to go do it. And some of the guys that worked on the crew went out there and ran them over with four-wheelers, and all the data was scattered around. And it was like, well, that became the gospel. But those shot points really weren't really where they said they were on the map. So an electric log, I know I have the electric log, and like on Tanner's deal, we're going to drill a Devil's Waterhole. We went and found all the old well casing and sounded them up with a metal detector, a Schonstedt. I know where that casing is, and I know I have that log in my hand. And our brains are better than any computer in the world as far as processing information and understanding whether or not that's really real or something doesn't make sense of it. So I would say, in summation, I don't use much seismic.
Oh, yeah. So there we go. But Lauren, thank you for the question. We do appreciate it. So, all right. So you guys, if y'all have any more questions, be sure to throw them out there. So are y'all looking actively right now for any investors? Do y'all have any projects now?
We're always got investors because we have so many prospects. We have the North Petronilla prospect, which is a 8,500 foot deal in Nueces County. We have Tanner and I have one that's Cistern. It's a 2,200 footer in Fayette, and Hank and Tanner and I have a Toledo one, which is 5,000 in B County. We'll have a deep Vicksburg deal in Jim Wells County. That's a really neat project. It's a geopressured gas deal. That's called the Alice in Wonderland, where you're drilling next to a well that had, gas in the A was like very simple deal. We got another one over by Driscoll. It's 7,600 footer. I got one called the South Burnson, which is adjacent to a 500,000 barrel field. Man, I always got stuff working. I'm never going to stop because I'm a dreamer. I was always it's either fishing, training kids, drilling wells, sleeping, visiting grandkids. It's just the same old cycle. I'm always going to be wondering about stuff. And I help other people too that are other geologists that help them put together projects that, they weren't as fortunate. And I help them put together stuff and give them some hope too to go out and get their ideas. Everybody has ideas. It's frustrating, if you can't get them done, you need help. And I help people like that too. And I train a lot of kids, to do geology and this. And in fact, when we're done, I'm probably going to go visit one of my mentors that lives up here if he's going to let us in. And he's pretty old, Don Haynes, and he lives in Wimberley. And he gave me all the kind of inspiration that I gave to these kids, the same thing. He just sit there at night and work with you and show you how to do stuff. And you can create lots of ideas. All that's found in your mind. And that's where oil and gas is found, in your imagination. Don't let anybody tell you that, that it can't be that way, because it can be that way. And I've found lots of it by just being a dreamer.
So how does it make you feel being able to see, Hank and Tanner be able to kind of come into their own and be able to start,
nice. It's really a lot of fun, because I always was kind of a frustrated teacher, but I never wanted to follow the rules of the universities or all that other etiquette and all that stuff. I needed to be free like you are. You can't ever cage people like us. You have to be free to go do what you want. And I love to train them and watch them and tease them, about stuff. I'll give you $1 if you never ask me that again. That's one of them that's, or don't tell anybody that you ever ask that question. I'll give you $1 if you never ask that again. And I enjoy watching them grow, and that's all you have in this life is your legacy, what you leave behind. Because just ask all the rich guys that made all the money in the world but never left any kind of a legacy behind. As soon as they close that casket lid and lower them in the ground, nobody comes out and cares about them anymore. I want people to remember when they say, he's a good guy. He cared about people. And that's the way my mother was. She always cared about people, and I'll care about, helping people out and letting them learn. And I got a lot of wisdom. I have a lot of things that I can, and not only, geology. I can teach you a lot about bass fishing. I teach you know a lot about football. I know a lot about how your body works and sciences, and a lot about the universe. and a lot about, don't know much about money, counting it, but I can earn it. I'm good at earning it, but I don't care much about counting it. I don't know anything about that. But interesting things that I know about. And then I always have these stories I tell them about different things that I remember, and they just pop in my head. And I'll say, oh, shoot, I remember when that happened. And I just enjoy people more than anything. I just enjoy telling them about my whole life. Hopefully I make it another 10 years.
Yeah, I'll probably speak for me and Tanner. Never had a teacher like Jay, and he'll come up with the funniest, craziest analogies to explain things. And his way of teaching might be kind of unconventional sometimes, but how he explains things, will just be burned into your mind forever.
You remember them, and I'll say you visualize
whether you want to or not. I guess that's
right. Exactly. And you'll be like, I tell Will Cowden, he's another kid that I trained. I said, I'll bet you never thought when you were sitting at College Station taking your science there at A&M that you would ever be working with some fool like me at 8 o'clock at night, sitting there in his office. But that's how you do it. The college, they're not going to teach you like this. Their academics is completely different. And it's, they're also, they're kind of hamstrung. They can't really let it all hang out like I do. I tell them like it is, like Howard Cosell. I tell it like it is. You don't even probably remember Howard, do you, David?
I know who it is, but I mean, like, I never met him or anything like that.
He was an old sportscaster.
Yeah.
ABC Sports. Yep.
So if somebody else wanted to be an intern for you, how would they just?
You have to get my phone number,
which is all over LinkedIn.
You have to call me. Okay. A lot of the newbies now is like, I was wondering if I could be an intern or and I was like, you're asking for a job by an email or a text. What you do, young man, because I'm 65, my first job was at Walgreens Grill as a dishwasher in 1973. You go down there and you meet the manager. You shake their hand in person and you say, can I have a job in person? Or if you want to use social media, ask for the phone number and call. I cannot tell you how many that I have had that asked for a job over an email or a text. And I was like, are you kidding me? I'm old school. You come down, and if you want to ask for a job, you come see me. I'm a very compassionate person, but I'm realist too. You don't ask for a job through a text or an email. Sorry.
We do have one more question here from Brian. Can the working interest be bought and sold after the well is drilled? Does the investor have the responsibility for plug and abandon costs?
If the well is you consent, first of all, the first wave of cash call just comes in. It's just called a dry hole cost. And that just covers everything in the event it does not work. Okay. It's bad you call it a dry hole cost because we don't expect it to be a dry hole. We wouldn't be drilling it. But you got to collect that money. When they pay that amount, and then you log the well and you say, hey, this thing's going to be a winner. This is going to work. You have to send in additional funds for the completion of the well. You got to put 4.5-inch casing in it, cement it, wellhead, perforating gun, 2 3/8-inch tubing, packer, all that. That's an additional cost, not as much as the original. All right, when they do all that, then they send all that in, and then we pop the well, and it's 50 barrels a day, and it produces for 2 years, and you have to put it on rod pump. Anytime after that, that person owns that interest in that well. He can do whatever he wants with it. If he wants to sell it to somebody, let's say his total investment was $20,000 to get it up producing 50 barrels a day, and he rides it for 2 years, and he decides, I'm going to unload this thing. This looks like I made my money back. I got some cash flow, and I got some guy that'll give me 4 times what I put into it because he wants to be in the oil business. And somebody wants to pay him $100,000 for it. We put 20 in it. He wrote it for 2 years, made all that money back. They said, I'll flip it for, $100,000. He can sell it for whatever he wants. That's his well. That's his interest. And then the well plays out after a period of time, and he still owns it and didn't sell it. Yes, he's responsible for plugging the well and cleaning it up. Yes, sir.
So all of the investors would be
Correct.
at that, or
Their
even the West
proportionate share.
Yeah, any of the investors that might have or bought and sold or had
Correct.
Purchased
any
that.
new people, they bought it. Correct. They're responsible for that. Like I had some investors that got into a well and they said, well, we just don't think it's really going to do like you thought. And I said, okay, well, I'll take your interest. And they said, we'll just give the interest to you. You can have our interest. And they assigned it back to me. And I said, thank you very much. Now that's my interest. They're off the hook because they want to get out of the plugging responsibility. It's just like dating. They just kind of fell out of love with Susie. They thought she was going to be something wonderful. And then they just kind of fell out of love with her. And it was like, that happens. They fell out of love with Susie. And they said, Susie, it's over with. Can I, just give you a final goodbye peck on the cheek and we're done? I said, absolutely. And now I own their interest and I have the assignment into me. So there's never any question that they come back and say, hey, that well's doing a lot better. I changed my mind. And I say, well, your signature right here says you didn't change your mind. So it's all legal. Got to get everything legal because people have short memories sometimes. Kind of funny.
Do other investors have the first right of refusal if a partner is selling their interest?
In some cases, they do. I don't write my leases that way because it inhibits you too much. But there are people that do have that included in the leases. I would recommend that you do not, because if a person wants to sell their car after they've driven it, why should the dealer have the first right of being able to come by and buy their? It just muddies the water. There should be. This is America. You should be able to sell your car to whoever the hell you want.
All right. If a well needs to be, and by the way, that was a question from Joe Wade. So Joe, appreciate the question. This one's back to Scott. If a well needs to be recompleted, do the investors have to provide more cash?
Yes.
Or is the estimated cost taken out of production beforehand?
No. What they do is you'll be sent out an AFE for the additional work over, like the one I did on the Morgan 3. My share was $32,000, I think it was. And they sign off, they agree with the AFE, the cost of it, they agree to pay that, and you're on the hook for that amount of money. Okay. A lot of people just, they don't come up with all of it and they just net them out. That's fine. If it has production and they just don't have the cash right then, that doesn't bother me to net people out. You just take some of their production runs and pay for the overtures and everything. We understand that. That's just
Oh, we just lost that camera. Hold on. All right, we're getting towards the end of the show, everybody. Hey, guys. I need to unplug that one. Plug this into here. We had to charge. Sorry, guys. We had to charge the keyboard.
I had something to add to that as well then. So
Go ahead.
If the cost within your JOA or your joint operating agreement, so all investors sign up under a joint operating agreement. So this is an outlined legal document saying exactly the rules we must play. It's like the rules for a Monopoly game board or something else. If this happens, this happens. So if you set it up so that if any operation exceeds a certain cost along the way, so if you exceed a $25,000 operation, then divided among your, say, 1% partners for simplicity's sake, then they must get an election letter if it exceeds that cost. So the investors must sign off, and that at each point they can elect to go to consent or to back out. So it's not that they are on the hook from the start for all those expenses. There are stepwise documents along the way that have you consenting and not consenting.
Yeah. All right, let me check to see. Do we have any more? Oh, it looks like we do. Let me see if I can pull it up here. I think that was the last question there from Scott. Anything else that you guys want to add in while I'm trying to?
Hank
Sorry.
and Tanner are working on a deal over there by Toledo that they're going to get ready to start selling. You guys can inquire about that one. Lana's got one down at the North Petronella. You should inquire about that one. They're ending up, Hank's going to learn the sales part, which is a huge part of this whole equation. You can bake all the cookies you want, and if you can't sell your cookies, then you're toast, because you're going to have a lot of cookies you got to eat yourself. Okay, so
I like
you gotta learn how to market those cookies. Hank's getting ready to learn that right now. A lot of geologists and scientists that I've taken on over the years, boy, they got all these big ideas and they're going to do this and that. And then at the end of the day, selling it is a huge part. Okay. Miss Gonzalez and Mr. Bowersox are excellent at that. I've had others that they couldn't, well, I won't say that, but they couldn't sell anything because they were the scientists. Those type of people really need to be in the corporate world, where they tie a chain around your neck, throw you back in a room, let you create your science, throw some dog food and a hamburger steak on the floor and some water, and they'll have a landman that can go out there and do all that. That's not what we do. We do everything, and sales is a very important part of it. And typically they don't like sales, and you have to know how to sell. You have to sell yourself. You have to get behind your project, got to get excited about it, get the public excited about it. That's why a lot of boxing promoters and all that, that's why they were able to put these big mega fights together, Bob Arum and Don King and, Oscar De La Hoya, because they're out there, waving their flags and getting everybody excited, about the project. You have to have faith in your idea, and you got to get excited about it. You go out there and say, well, this is a dry gulch prospect and, Karnes County here. Well, who's going to buy into a deal called the Dry Gulch? You have to have some, exciting name like Megabucks Prospect and, oil's dripping out of the map in Duval County. So marketing is huge. That, and you have to be able to get people excited about it. So that's a whole nother facet of it that you gotta. And I'm crazy enough that I get out there and I get fired up about selling them and all that. And I can stand in the pocket with the best of them. If that pocket collapses and I get crunched, it's a dry hole, I accept that. But if I stand in the pocket to the last second and unload it to a guy going across the middle and he's wide open, I'm also willing to accept that. So you have to take the heat.
So, Hank, are you ready to be able to start doing your LinkedIn videos?
Yeah. I don't think I can sell something like Jay particularly could. I think I'd be more like on Tanner's speed, trying to reach out to people. I know Jay has some pretty crazy comical videos out there.
Hank, I disagree. I think Hank is going to be a great salesman because of his country demeanor. I think that's very important. It's very calming and soothing and trusting too. So hi folks, it's Hank Byrum. Listen, we're down there, got us a deal over here in B County, and I'm just out here getting ready to get this thing marketed, and I appreciate your support. I disagree. I think he's got a great demeanor about him, and that's very, very important. I remember in Beaumont, they had this commercial where growing up, they had this guy, it was in an aluminum boat, and they still shot just different pictures of him. And he was going down the highway in an aluminum boat, going like this, and then they ran them all together, and it looked like he was rowing down the highway in an aluminum boat. And he said, hi, folks, we're going to Silsbee, Texas. And Silsbee's the car trading capital of Southeast Texas, you know. And I always remember that commercial. And think about the laundromat ones where they have it upside down. They have laundry upside down. You just have to go do stuff like that that sticks in people's minds. I think Hank's going to be a good salesman.
Yeah, I got that going for me. And I've kind of seen that play out, trying to lease from people and learn about how lease might be split up through the family and deaths. And some of the people I've reached out to are country folk. And I've quickly gained trust with some people that are probably pretty skeptic of strangers and gotten them to divulge information. I mean, you probably wouldn't tell a stranger, you know. I can kind of level with people and get people to kind of trust me, because I'm not really
He's got that country demeanor, but believe me, he's smart behind them eyes. He's smart. He knows what he's doing.
All right, I know we got a couple more. Thanks, David. Great discussion. Many insights on uniquely USA oil and gas. USA has thousands of wells that need to be reworked. That several years of production left in them. I applaud your team with these wells. Or I think that's what he was saying. All right. So then, can we tell everybody that if they watch the show and then they invest, they got to let you guys know that they saw it here first, right?
All
right. There we go. So we can help put you guys some deals there. Any last thing you guys want to be able to share? I know we've been going for almost an hour 30 minutes now.
It's fine. No, I just appreciate you having us on and listening to us. And I think if you want to get involved in the, down home kind of oil and gas investments, those are the kind of things that we offer. And I think they're reasonably priced. And if you want to talk to somebody, you can always call me I always answer my phone. You don't get some
That's true. Every time I call.
I don't know, or you don't reply back. Or once I take your money to go put it into an oil and gas deal, you've entrusted me to try to go out there and make you more money with the money that you've given me. And I feel like that is very, very important. That's kind of old school, in a world of, Elon Musk and mega bucks and, all that. Nah, we're just old school. We just do it. You give us your money and we try to go out there and, and make you money. It's hard to do that when you're just an underground farmer. It's really all we are. We're just harvesting a natural resource. And I can tell you what, it's not going anywhere. It's always going to be needed. It's got millions of applications that apply to everything every day. Oil will always be here. And anybody that thinks they told me 42 years ago that there wouldn't be using oil when I started then. It fuels the entire world. I can go visit my grandbaby in New Jersey because I get on a jet that'll lift all that weight by a controlled, explosion, which is when it takes off, and a controlled crash when it lands. and that's all driven by jet fuel. So oil ain't going nowhere.
Well, again, thank you guys all for being here today. I really do appreciate it. It's been definitely an amazing conversation. A lot learned on my end. Hopefully everybody else did too. Guys, for everybody watching, thank you guys so much. Do appreciate it. Like, share, subscribe, do all those things. If you haven't already, connect with me on LinkedIn. Connect with these guys on LinkedIn as well. They're all three of them are definitely active there. No show next week. Taking the week off. Actually going to do vacation for 1 or 2 days next week. And then we got, I don't know, a whole bunch of other stuff going on. So I don't know. There still might be a show. I don't know. There's nobody booked right now, but you never know. We might just find some random person and stick them in the chair and go live. So that's it for me. Thank you guys for being here. And as always, know your industry.